Hello and welcome to the Wellbeing College. Our aim at the college is to help you learn how to best take care of your mental well-being. We do that by providing learning opportunities where people can come together and explore resilience and positive mental health in the Scottish borders. My name is Annette, one of the personal tutors at the college, and this course is called Let's Talk About Resilience. You can find out more about this and other courses at the college on our website, www.wellbeingcollege.org.uk. You can also make an appointment with a personal tutor to better understand how the college can help you and perhaps develop a personal learning plan. Our website should have all the information you need about the college, who we are, what we do and how we can help you. But if you have any more questions, please call us or send us an email. In this course, we're considering the topic of resilience. The purpose of the course is to have an understanding of what resilience is, gain an appreciation of your own existing resilience, learn 3 key mindsets that improve resilience, and consider how to develop a more resilient mindset. We'll introduce some key mindsets which you may find helpful and wish to think about some more. Sources of further information will be provided at the end of the course if you wish to explore these ideas further. Before we start, here's what you'll need for this course. A pen or pencil and paper or your favourite notebook for the activities. Whenever you see this pencil symbol, it's time for you to do a short exercise. So listen to the instructions, pause the video for as long as you need to, and then hit play when you're ready to start again. Writing things down by hand can help us understand and remember ideas and makes it more likely that we achieve our goals. So I encourage you to do this. You won't be asked to share what you write with anyone, you're just doing it for you to get your thoughts down on paper. You also may want to eliminate distractions for the next hour or so. So if you can, switch off the TV and your phone, put on headphones if that helps you concentrate, or do whatever helps you focus for a short while on you, because what matters most is your mental health. Before we begin, it's important to be clear that this is a general introductory course. We share broad themes and strategies that can help when it comes to understanding and improving mental health. We encourage you to think about how the ideas in this course can work for you. We acknowledge that mental health can be a sensitive subject. Reflecting on our experiences can sometimes bring up difficult thoughts and feelings, and that's normal. Be kind to yourself and go at your own pace. And if you feel affected by any of the content in this video, remember you can pause or stop at any time. If you feel you need more immediate help with your mental health and you're not sure where to go, please see the Need Help Now section of our website for details of services who can offer support. Before undergoing this course, we recommend you view a short talk called The 3 Secrets of Resilient People by Dr. Lucy Hone. You'll hopefully have received a link to this talk when you registered for the course. Failing that, a Google search of the title should quickly take you to the clip on YouTube or the TED website. In summary, this talk serves as a really good illustration of what resilience means in our day-to-day life, the fact that nobody escapes adversity, and that there are mindsets that can really help with some of the hardest difficulties we can endure. We'll come on to consider the 3 main themes of this video in due course, but firstly, let's take some time to think about the term resilience. Please take a few minutes to think about the word resilience and note down any words or images that come to mind. Pause the video while you note down your thoughts and click play when you're ready to move on. Everyone who completes this course will most likely say something slightly different based on their experiences. But here are some definitions which you may find helpful. Firstly, this is a quote by Rick Hanson, author of the book Resilient. He writes, "Resilience is the ability to cope with adversity and push through challenges in the pursuit of opportunities." The mental health charity Mind says, "Resilience is not just your ability to bounce back, but also your capacity to adapt in the face of challenging circumstances, whilst maintaining a stable mental well-being. What both these quotes have in common is that they describe resilience as something that helps us face and overcome challenges or difficulties in life. If you've managed to view it, you may remember at the start of their talk, Dr. Lucy Hone described a variety of difficult events or situations and asked audience members to stand up if they'd ever experienced any of them. At the end of the list, everyone in the room was on their feet. Let's try a similar exercise now. Take a moment to consider if you've ever experienced any of the following: loss of any kind, including the death of someone close to you, or the loss of a pet, or perhaps the loss of a career, a relationship, friendship, or a treasured possession. Personal rejection. Perhaps you didn't get that job you wanted or the personal invitation you hoped for. Long-term illness. Perhaps you have a long-term illness, whether it affects your physical or mental health or both. Even illnesses that are not serious and life-threatening can still be debilitating when experienced over long periods. Persistent low mood. Perhaps you felt sad or low for several weeks or more. Have you ever experienced stress or anxiety? Or severe disappointment, and things haven't worked out nearly as well as you hoped they would? Now, thinking about recent events and the time since you first heard of COVID-19 and became impacted by it, have you experienced feelings of anxiety and overwhelm watching the news? Fear of catching COVID-19 or passing it on to others? Fear visiting the shops or going about other daily activities? A sense of loneliness and or isolation, whether you were around people or not? Discomfort or fear wearing a face covering? Anger, fear or upset at the behaviour of others? If you can identify with any of the experiences I've just listed, you're most definitely not alone. As was pointed out in Dr. Hone's talk, adversity doesn't discriminate, and none of us are immune to challenges. However, like others, there are also some other things you may have experienced recently. How about humour? Perhaps recently you've been able at times to find things to laugh about, or watched or listened to things that give you some light relief. Perhaps you've had improved contact with friends and family. Maybe you've had support from neighbours or the wider community. You may have decided to prioritise your health by trying to improve your diet or take more exercise. Have you learned to use technology that is new or unfamiliar to you? I hadn't heard of Zoom before March 2020, but now I use it regularly. At times when we were asked to stay at home, did you experience and even gain strength from greater peace and quiet? Did you spend more time in nature and discover that it helps you relax? Have you explored a new hobby or interest, or rediscovered an old one? Perhaps you can identify with all of these things, or maybe none of them. Perhaps there are other things you've done to help you get through, and that's what we're going to look at next. It can be difficult to recognise our own resilience. We don't always appreciate the things that we do to keep going in the face of adversity. So let's take some time to do that now. Regardless of how you feel you've coped in response to COVID-19, or with any of life's problems, the fact is you're still here. So please take a moment to acknowledge yourself for that. Now take a moment to ask yourself, how have you managed to stay well? What have you done, or how have you thought about the situation to help yourself get through? Have you done anything new or different that's helped? If it helps, refer back to the examples on the previous slide to prompt some ideas. Otherwise, please pause the video again, note down your thoughts, and press play in your own time. I hope you found taking time to reflect on your resilience helpful. Being able to identify the things that help us cope with and overcome our challenges means we can build on this ability in the future. You may appreciate this quote from the mental health charity Mind, who say, "Resilience isn't a personality trait, it's something that we can all take steps to achieve." Perhaps that's a quote worth keeping in mind, especially as we go through the rest of the course and look more closely at mindsets that can help us become more resilient. Let's think back to the TED Talk that was mentioned at the start of this course, and the 3 mindsets that, according to Dr. Hohn's research, are key to resilience. The first mindset is, accept adversity happens. The second, be careful what you focus on. And the third, notice what helps and what doesn't. Let's explore each of these in turn before doing an activity to practice applying them in our lives. The first key to resilience, accept adversity happens, is about understanding that challenges happen in life and they happen to everyone. This idea is similar in many ways to the parable of the mustard seed taught in Buddhism. In this story, a woman asks Buddha for a potion to bring a loved one back to life. He asks her to collect mustard seeds from a village not affected by death, and she will make a potion to revive her loved one as she wishes. Of course, she comes home empty-handed. The point of this story is that we are not alone in our suffering. Accepting adversity encourages us to realize that difficulties are inevitable in life. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" which usually makes us feel worse, Dr. Hohn suggests we can ask, "Why not me?" That way we don't have to feel that we alone are being singled out to suffer. Despite how it may feel at times, challenges do affect everyone, and people can and do overcome them. The next key to resilience follows on from acceptance. Just because we accept difficulties in life, it doesn't mean we have to focus on them and nothing else. Being aware of what we focus on is about realizing that we have the power to choose where to put our attention. You may have heard of the expression, "Is the glass half empty or half full?" As you look at this image of the glass of water, you have a choice as to how you view it. You can take the view the glass is half empty, which suggests you're focusing on what you don't have or don't have enough of. Or you can have the more optimistic view that the glass is half full, and even be grateful for the fact you have a glass and some water over nothing at all. When we apply this attitude to our challenges, we're asking ourselves to find the good in a situation. Despite our circumstances, there are things we can be grateful for. We tend to have negativity bias, and that it's natural for us humans to look out for threats as part of our survival instincts. Most of us don't need to learn how to do that, as it comes to us naturally. However, that means we do need to train ourselves to purposefully search for the good. There's some interesting neuroscience that might help encourage you to do this. When we consciously practice gratitude, we release chemicals in the brain that make us feel good, such as dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. The simple act of searching for something good increases the level of these chemicals. Finding something good increases these levels further, and they increase further still when we share what we are grateful for with others. Also, our minds can't focus on negative and positive information at the same time, so focusing on the positive will naturally reduce the amount of negativity we let in because we simply don't have room for it in our minds. Another way to think about this is to try and focus on what you can control. Many problems, especially global issues like COVID-19 or climate change, can feel overwhelming to us and cause enormous anxiety. Rather than take responsibility for the whole problem, resilient people will focus on what they can directly control. This isn't world events, the weather, the economy, or other people, for example, but our own actions and attitudes. It's also not about dismissing negative feelings or always pretending that everything is fine. It's about finding a more balanced perspective, rather than focusing on just the negative. We'll look at an everyday example of this later in the course. Finally, let's consider the third secret of resilient people. Notice what helps and what doesn't. This is really about self-awareness. As Dr. Hohn explains in her talk, we might ask ourselves, Is the way I'm thinking and acting helping me or harming me? For example, in my bid to get that job or volunteer opportunity, to feel optimistic about the future, to recover from a period of depression. It's a powerful question to ask when we want to reflect on how we are responding to a challenge. If you notice that what you're doing is not helping, now let's try applying these three mindsets to an everyday situation, one we're probably all too familiar with. Let's imagine the driver in the silver car is called Steve. They're on their way to meet you at the airport so you can catch a flight together, but they get stuck in traffic. This is an ideal example of a situation where Steve can't really do anything, in that they can't solve the problem of the traffic and make it magically move again. For this activity, we're going to assume Steve's quite stressed about the situation. Let's consider Steve's initial reactions. What might they be thinking or feeling right now? Take a moment to write down as many things as you can think of, pausing the video if you need to. Perhaps Steve is worried about missing the flight, frustrated by not knowing what's caused the delay nor how long it will last, annoyed about not taking another route, concerned about leaving you waiting. You may have come up with other suggestions. After all, most of us are familiar with these situations and not usually terribly happy about them. Now let's imagine you've listened to Steve vent these frustrations and more. Keeping in mind the 3 keys to resilience you've just learned: accept adversity happens, be careful what you focus on, and notice what does or doesn't help. What might you say to Steve that could help? Again, pause the video and take some time to think about this. When it comes to accepting adversity, we might reassure Steve that all other drivers are in the same situation and possibly feeling equally frustrated. The traffic isn't bad because Steve decided to leave 10 minutes late or take this road. It's just one of those things in life. There's nothing anyone can really do. This brings us on to the next point. Accepting that Steve can't help what is causing the delay, we could suggest other things to focus on by way of distraction, such as listening to the radio or considering alternative travel plans should the flight be missed. Finally, we might encourage Steve not to dwell on his frustrations about why the traffic is bad, if that only makes those feelings worse. Instead, we could encourage them to focus on whatever helps them relax, like breathing deeply or reminding himself that the traffic will eventually pass. Of course, this is just an example, but I hope you can see how these mindsets could be applied in everyday situations. Perhaps there is a small challenge or frustration you are facing right now. Could you use the 3 keys to resilience to think differently about it? Pause the video and take some time to think about that too, if you need to. So far in the course, we've looked at what we mean by the term resilience. You paused to acknowledge your own resilience, including how you responded in the face of COVID-19, and you've just learned 3 key mindsets that can help improve your resilience further. Let's remind ourselves of a quote from earlier. Resilience isn't a personality trait, it's something that we can all take steps to achieve. Resilience is not a static quality, but one we can continue to develop throughout our lives, and as we have seen, much of our resilience comes from our mindset. How then can we develop a more resilient mindset? For a moment, think of all the ways in which you've learned to think differently about your problems or circumstances in a way that is helpful to you. How did you learn to think differently about these challenges? Perhaps you have your own philosophies in life, similar to one of the 3 ideas we've just looked at, that help you get through. Where did you learn them, or how did you develop them? Take some time to think about this and note down your answers. Here are some ideas for developing a more resilient mindset. Firstly, be aware of your own mindset and be prepared to challenge it. Try to remain open to different perspectives, for example by listening to others or reading from different sources on a subject, or perhaps writing in a journal. Stay curious. If you hear of an approach or idea that works for someone, consider how it might work for you. Take baby steps. Think differently about something small rather than issues that seem insurmountable, and notice attitudes that help. Whether you thought of ideas similar to this or came up with something completely different, the important thing is to be aware of what works for you and build on it. As we've seen today, remember that it's common to experience adversity. We have a proven ability to overcome difficulties. We can also develop our resilience. We've all been resilient before and can adapt that resilience in new circumstances. As we come to the end of the course, let's recap what we've covered today. You now have a better understanding of what resilience is by considering what the term means to you, as well as reflecting on some definitions provided by others. You've gained an appreciation of your own existing resilience by taking time to think of all the many ways you've had to adapt to the challenges posed by the pandemic. You've learned 3 key mindsets that improve resilience. Firstly, by accepting adversity happens to everyone, and that we are rarely alone in our suffering. Secondly, by being careful what you focus on and allowing space for the good in any circumstance. And thirdly, by taking time to pay attention to what does or doesn't help during difficult times. Finally, you've also considered how to develop a more resilient mindset by being open to change and willing to learn from others. As a final activity for the course, remember the science we learned about gratitude, that searching for things to be grateful for can increase our sense of well-being. Take a moment now to think about one thing you're grateful for today. Note it down and consider sharing it with someone else. The more we practice recognizing gratitude, the more we might, in the words of Dr. Lucy Hone, make room for the good. And it's some final thoughts from Dr. Hone's talk that I would like to finish with, as they capture much of what we've looked at today. We all have moments in life when the path we thought we were taking veers off into some terrible direction that we never anticipated and certainly didn't want. Know that struggle is part of life. Don't let your attention get fixated exclusively on the negative, and consider if the way you are thinking and acting is helping you or harming you. If you'd like to explore the concept of resilience further, there are some useful resources you might want to consider. There is the website of the mental health charity Mind, www.mind.org.uk, which has accessible information on a variety of mental health topics, including resilience. You may also wish to look at the resources on the website of Rick Hanson, who wrote the book Resilient, amongst others, and co-hosts the podcast Being Well. You're also invited to continue your learning at the Wellbeing College. Please look at our website, www.wellbeingcollege.org.uk, where you can register for more courses, including a live version of Let's Talk About Resilience, where you could review this course under the guidance of our personal tutors and also learn from other students. You may also enjoy our other self-study courses, such as What is Mental Health Recovery? Remember, if after this course you feel you need additional support with your mental health, please see the resources page of our website for sources of help and useful links. You can also contact us to request an appointment with a personal tutor to find out more about the college and perhaps develop a personal learning plan. If you're not already on our email list, please sign up to receive our newsletter so we can stay in touch. We'd also really love your feedback on this course. We'll send you an email soon to ask you what you thought of it, so please do let us know. Thank you again for taking the time to work through this course today, and for being willing to learn more about your mental health. We look forward to learning with you again soon.